I thought it'd be a good time to take a look at this guy, the iPhone 5S, which was released in September of 2013. Is it still a good buy? Will this $100 iPhone get you through the next year and wait for the next big thing? Let's take a look at it and find out from an Android's perspective how the iPhone 5S treated me over the last week. So 4 years later, I'd say this iPhone 5S has held up pretty well, and you can find them on eBay for about $100. This is an unlocked 16 gigabyte variation, and I picked it up to give you guys just a little review of what it's like to use the iPhone 5S 4 years later, especially coming from an Android user, and I have to say I'm actually really surprised. So this device is on a little bit of the small size for me personally. As you can see, I can almost cup the phone entirely. It does have a 4-inch display, only 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I believe it's a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor in here, which is actually quite amazing that it still runs as smoothly as it does. Makes me wonder why Android can't keep up, and why they won't keep up, rather, with updates, because if a phone is regularly updated, it will last over time. I have no doubt that this iPhone 5S would last another year or two, depending on if you can get used to the small size screen, which a lot of people actually do enjoy this size screen because it does fit in your pocket rather nicely. I have to admit, it even fit in my change pocket, which is something unheard of in the Android world. But how was using this device for a full week as my daily driver? So I have to tell you, battery life on this thing is horrible. It does only have a 1500 milliamp battery, which does explain a lot, but I found myself charging this device about 3 times a day. And speaking of charging, it was pretty slow charging. It would take about 2 hours to get this thing fully charged from 0 to 100, and that's really unacceptable when my 3000 milliamp Android phone can quick charge faster than that. But it is 4 years ago, and it is still a nice looking device, and this one was definitely well taken care of. The person had it in a case, and 4 years later I can say it actually looks brand new. Now, the iPhone runs really smoothly. I was very happy with the way apps opened up. I had no problems using this for navigation. Apple Maps is quite good. I do prefer my Google Maps, but thankfully you are able to install Google Maps on an iPhone, which I have right here, but that's besides the point. Apps opened up very quickly. There was no delay in multitasking. As you see, if you double click, you can swipe quite quickly, and there's really no lag. And that's the one thing Apple users, you guys enjoy, basically zero lag. I know you do have lag from time to time, but not as much as Android users do. I think that's just the nature of having a closed system versus an open system like what we have with Android. But in a way, I do prefer it. Games were kind of fun. I loaded up some simple games on this thing. I'm really not a big gamer, but I did play some games. And as you can see, sometimes the startup time is a little slow, but it is a slower processor. But once the app booted up, there was no issues with it whatsoever. I could say I could highly recommend this phone for somebody on a budget, someone not looking to drop that $1,000 price tag on the new iPhone, or someone that maybe has an older iPhone and just wants a little upgrade. I could definitely recommend the iPhone 5S. It does have Touch ID, which is very fast as well. It opens up. It does not have Apple Pay, but that's okay. I really don't mind not having Apple Pay on this device. As long as you can open your phone with a fingerprint, I think that's really all you need. And especially for $100, I think this is definitely a win for anyone on a budget or anyone looking for maybe a secondary device, maybe a gym phone. I did use this in the gym, and yes, it is a great gym phone because it fits in your pocket. It's not heavy at all. The sound produced from the headphone jack is actually really, really good. And yes, it has a headphone jack. A lot of the newer devices coming out in 2017 decided to get rid of this little guy. So if you want to upgrade to a newer phone, maybe the new iPhone or Android that doesn't have the headphone jack, maybe this is a good idea to pick up as a spare device for the gym or for your workouts so that you can take wired headphones to the gym and enjoy your music. But overall, I have to say my experience with this phone has been really good. Even though the screen is small, I have to really admit I did enjoy watching YouTube on this screen, and I think it's because the speaker is actually really, really good. And I'll put this closer to the microphone. What's going on, YouTube? This is Jabber Tech. It is quite loud. That essential camera. Yeah. I had no problems with the speaker listening in my car or even listening to a speakerphone in the street. It was really nice. Call quality on this device was excellent. No one had any complaints with it. It sounded great. Text messaging, of course, with iMessage. And that brings me to another point. Maybe you're an Android user, but a lot of your family and friends have iPhones. You could pick this up for $100, get an extra SIM card, or even if you just want to use it as a Wi-Fi device only, and you will have all the iPhone perks and extras, such as iMessage and FaceTime, which is actually really nice to have, especially since you can get this device so cheaply. That might be another idea why you'd want to pick up this phone. But overall, like I said, no lag. I really enjoyed using this phone, and it's just a shame that the iOS ecosystem is not more open, because I do believe Apple really makes the best hardware out there. It is really smooth. Even if they just gave us an app drawer to hide all these apps, I don't like having multiple screens where I have to scroll through. I just like being able to click on a button and see all my apps. But that's just me, and it's whatever you're used to. So iOS is really nice. It's coming a long way. Maybe I'd be swayed to pick up an iPhone if the ecosystem changed a little bit. Maybe not. Who knows? You'll probably find out in another year or so how I go. One thing that I would like for them to implement is what we have in Android. For quick toggles, I'd like to be able to just double click on an option and have it pull up the settings. Right now you can just turn these on or off, but it'd be nice just to hold down and have the settings pop up. That's just an idea. But iOS in a whole is a really nice operating system. I'm not hating on it. I just prefer Android myself, but I wanted to see what it would be like to have an iPhone and give you guys a little review of maybe picking up an iPhone on the cheap. If you think about it, this iPhone 5S is 10% the cost of the latest iPhone 8 that's supposed to come out at a rumored $1,000 price tag, and that's just ridiculous. All right, guys, that's been my review on the iPhone 5S 4 years later, and at $100, this is definitely a win. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up if you did, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Let me connect to Wi-Fi.